Look at my beautiful back muscles. Do you see them? I need them to draw bows, but I also use it for my katana. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing very well and fantastic and all those good things. And I want to say hello to you. How are you doing? All that good stuff. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about dealing with anger, depression, and things like that. And some useful little tips and tricks to deal with those sort of things. And I'm also going to be doing this, walking around with a very long bow and very long katana that keep knocking into things so people get alerted to my presence. But it's okay, because then you do that. So, we all have our moments where we're going to have to deal with some difficulties in our lives. Sometimes it can feel like we have so much going on and that it's like almost impossible to deal with all the little things that are bothering us in our lives. And sometimes we really going to feel like we're going to need, to take a break from things, or that we don't feel strong enough to deal with the things that we have going on, stuff like that. But the truth is that we are strong enough to deal with the things that are coming towards us, and we have this deep inner strength, as I've mentioned before. But something that's very important is that we remember that all of these things that we claim to have like as a part of us, we don't necessarily have to go with everything they say. Like, if you're feeling angry, you don't have to like take that thought of feeling angry and be like, this belongs to me, this is mine, and things like that. It's always been very useful to realize that, like, hey, the mind just generates thoughts, right? Like, the mind will just generate thoughts. Like, if you ever sat in meditation for a while, you'll realize that you can be concentrating really hard and really try to fight your mind, but sometimes, things just pop up. And it's a lot easier to just, or, well, not just easier, but better to just kind of let them go and to, not try so hard to, like, beat negative thoughts and things like that. And instead, sometimes it's better to, just kind of let things, to just kind of let things go and not like worry about them too much, and just as a thought comes into your head, you sit there and you let it go, or you just sit there, you examine it, and then you let it pass through your mind. That can be very useful, but sometimes it can also be useful to look at something, and if you really feel like it is your anger or your depression, sometimes you just learn to look at it with loving kindness. Like, we should never underestimate the power of loving kindness, not just towards other people, although towards other people is very good. And, I've been trying to work more and more on my own loving kindness to try and get more, to try and get better at about, certain things. And, sometimes, like, I play a lot of Warhammer, and sometimes it's kind of easy to get a little bit annoyed at people, or like, getting annoyed because sometimes you're just having a bad game and things like that. But I've been trying to get better and better about just, oh, hey, it's just another moment, and it's just a thought, and it's just a game, not a big deal. And I feel like I've gotten better at it. I'm not always perfect. I would be lying if I said I was, but I think I've gotten a lot better at it. But if you really look at your own anxiety and your own depression or your own anger, any of those things, and you just say, hey, I'm still here for you, and I'm going to help you and nourish you, you'll find that it's kind of interesting. If you start personifying a lot of these things, you can find that you actually feel a kindness. You can start to feel a kindness towards your depression, or a kindness towards, your anxiety and things like that. And you start to get into a better and better situation where, like, you can just feel it, and you don't feel quite so upset about it. There's a variety of methods to deal with a lot of these things, and one of the most effective methods I've personally found, which it takes a while and takes some patience, but if you can do it, it's really effective, is to meditate and dwell on that and examine the feeling. What does it really feel like when I'm angry? Why? What is the reaction that I'm having to being angry? What is it exactly that You know, what is it that I'm feeling when I say I'm angry? What is it that I'm feeling? What am I really feeling? And, you know, once again, not claiming ownership of that feeling, going like, okay, this is the feeling that's here, and hey, and you do that with with the other method too of like loving kindness towards yourself. It's like, okay, this is the feeling that is currently here. I will take care of you. I'm here for you. I will feel this with you, and I will, get past it as time goes on, and I will be there for my own anger and my own things like that. And of course, I would argue that you should probably not take ownership of it, like I said. But some people really have a hard time with that. So even if you do, just sit there, dwell with it, be with it, and understand that sometimes the suffering is what makes life even sweeter. And it can be very useful to breathe a lot as well. Like, for instance, sometimes like someone will call you and you're kind of stressed out about something, and if they call you and you don't take a moment to calm yourself, it can be very I'm a plant, you can't see me. It can be very difficult for you to have like a normal conversation. So sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, that kind of thing. Or like when you're right before you pick up the phone, you just take like a couple of quick deep breaths, and then breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then afterwards, you just feel like you're a lot more relaxed about these things. And a lot of it is just, doing stuff in the present moment, dwelling in that moment and realizing, this is the only moment I have. Why not make it a wonderful moment? And that, you don't even have to make it a wonderful moment because it already is a wonderful moment. And that a lot of these experiences we have, we don't have to take the negative ones to heart and things like that. Uh, I would also highly recommend, some things, if they just stress you out all the time and but you find that you don't have to interact with them, sometimes it can be very good to just sort of not interact with certain things. Like, it sounds simple, but some of us, sometimes we do things that we don't really know why we're doing them, and they can be kind of harmful to our mental health. And sometimes we'll have to take these breaks so that we can go through and really try to understand what is it that we're doing, why are we doing what we're doing. And making sure that, the things we're doing for ourselves and to make sure that we are happy rather than, sometimes it's really easy to do things for other people. And, look, it's good to do things for other people. It's not like, oh, you shouldn't ever do anything for other people. Obviously, that would be very silly. Oops. Sometimes we have to make sure that we're doing things not just for other people but also for ourselves, and we have to remember that there's a fine balance there. We have to make sure that we're trying to increase our own mental health and trying to make sure that we are doing better things. I was a little confused. But that we're doing things for everyone involved, so that everyone involved is having a better time. But sometimes people will try to take advantage of us and things like that, and you need to know that you have to have respect for yourself, and that you have to be willing to stand up and do things. So sometimes if like you're like in a toxic relationship or whatever, and it's just like, ah, man, this is really draining me, and I don't feel good, and I feel like things are not going the way I want them to, or sometimes just dealing with a person is just draining. And there's a variety of ways to deal with that. Sometimes it is best to just, if you're in a bad state, to be willing to separate yourself from people who are, you know, harming you, and especially if they're taking advantage of you. But you can also use loving kindness towards them. And sometimes it's also just, you know, with all these different things I'm mentioning, sometimes you also got to remember that it can just be an environmental thing. Where maybe, you know, you're depressed, but the reason you're depressed is because you spent too long in a place that is not making you happy and is, like, making things worse for you. And it can take a lot of mental fortitude to really be able to just be like, okay, I'm going to uh, I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure that, you know, I'm doing the right thing and that I'm having a better time than I have previously, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes it can take a little bit out of us to really make sure that we're doing the right thing and that we're really trying to make sure that we're having a good time and that we're making sure that, you know, the people around us are having a good time and things like that. You just really got to be careful, you know, and you got to make sure that you're not trying, like, if you're having a miserable time, that you're not pressing it onto other people, and that sometimes, you know, someone's making you have a miserable time, or it feels like someone is, because, you know, truthfully, we're in control of our own emotions, whether we understand that or not. Sometimes you have to be willing to take a break from it. Sometimes with the environment you're in, you just need to take a break. Sometimes the side of vacations are so good sometimes, because they can really help us kind of get over uh, things, and they can also help us get a clear vision. Because if you go on vacation, you have fun on your vacation, you come back and everything is, and you realize just how miserable everything is. It can be a good step in the first step in the right direction to make sure that you're actually, you know, trying to do better, and that, you know, hey, maybe this means that the environment or something about my life as it is now is not conducive to healthy living, is not conducive to a healthy mind. And, you know, you will sometimes need to take moments in your life where you're just going to have to examine, for instance, like, why am I doing what I'm doing right now? And make sure that you're, oh, and make sure that you're doing things that will, you know, give you more pleasure and make sure that your life is better off. And, you know, that's not material things, man. I know everybody's like, oh man, you got to get success. And, you know, success can help, and it can really, it can really give you, um, a lot of help in certain things. You know, like sometimes, like, you know, they say more money, more problems, but sometimes just having a lack of money in modern society is really kind of a problem in and of itself. But a lot of this, you know, when the Buddha was talking about the teachings of the, you know, like when the Buddha was talking about his teachings, he was talking about, like, the cessation of the second form of suffering. Because you see, there's two kinds of suffering, or there's basically two layers of suffering that, you know, you could divide up further if you wanted to, where uh, there is the physical pain of suffering, and then there is basically the second arrow, which is the mental anguish. So you have, like, the first arrow hits you, ow, that hurts, and then, you know, another arrow is going to hit you because you're letting your physical suffering dictate the way you feel, and making it so that you feel more pain than you really need to. And sometimes the best remedy for that is to just allow yourself to feel that physical pain, but get used to the physical pain, and not allow yourself to create the mental anguish as well, because a lot of our mental anguish is doesn't come from like natural causes. What it comes from is like we'll let a thought like lead us down a billion different paths. We'll follow these thoughts to these very negative places. Like you'll have a thought that maybe puts a lot of anxiety into you, and then or like you'll have a thought like, oh man, what am I gonna do tomorrow? And then going, oh well, I don't need to worry about it right this second. If you start going, well, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and oh my god, this is gonna be so stressful, and I can't believe that I have to do this, and oh my goodness, now I also have to do this. Oh wait, I forgot about that. Now I have to do that too. If you do that and you let those thoughts spiral out of control, you're just gonna suffer more. So you would that's one of the things you got to do is you got to meditate, or you got to find ways to control your mind and not let it just go out and control, as in like when a negative thought appears, you don't have to follow it, you don't have to go along with it every time, and I think that that's really important. I think that there's a couple of different tips that really work, but like I said, you want to have a bit of loving kindness towards yourself. You want to make sure that you're not like taking possession of every negative thought that pops into your head. You don't want to follow every negative thought that pops into your head. And sometimes the thing that can be very beneficial is to just breathe. Just breathe and relax and try and remember, in, out, deep, slow, calm, ease. You breathe in, you calm your body. Breathe out, you ease everything. You let everything at ease. And, this is stuff from Thich Nhat Hanh. I think Thich Nhat Hanh's really good. And, when he says that I smile to everything, even to my suffering and to my difficulties, it's like it's very powerful. And if you smile at your suffering and your difficulties, you can find that it's very, very effective. And now I'm wet with rain. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope that maybe some of you guys can hear this, and maybe it'll help out a little bit, I hope. Anyway, I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day, and I hope that you know that I love you, and God loves you, and bye-bye, I love you, bye. Have a great one.